All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and jump right on in. I want to give a sound check with just my voice. Before we get started, can somebody just type in the chat how's the volume for you? You can do that for me. I appreciate it. As you come into the room, good evening. It's good to see you, Alan. Good to see you, Mom, Carolyn, Genevieve. Good to see you, Angie B. Cheryl, good to see you. And those of you who are tuning in on the YouTube channel, I welcome you also. Make sure that everything's good over there. I see we have a couple people watching there, a few people. All right, good. I did put something over there for those people. And we're gonna jump right in. I'm just setting my screen up here. Good, good. Well, I said it was good. All right. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm gonna do a 10-second countdown, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start. That way, when it's time to edit, I can take everything else out. So just center yourself and we're gonna get started. Peace and blessings, divine greetings, family. Welcome back to the living room, a Noun Thought lecture series where we don't just study truth, we demonstrate it. Well, this evening, I want to thank you for making your way into this sacred space of alignment and activation. In this series, we gather not as spectators, but we gather as co creators, each of us willing to examine what we believe, embody what we know, and demonstrate what is true. Well, we're currently walking through a seven-part series exploring the spiritual laws that govern both the invisible and the visible aspects of life. Each week, we open a new room of awareness and alignment. Today, we're stepping into room two in our series, a deep reflection on the law of correspondence. But before we do, let's briefly revisit room one, the law of mentalism. Okay, the law of mentalism taught us and teaches us that all is mind, that everything in creation begins with thought. The universe itself is mental in nature. In room one, we explored divine mind as the source of all creation. We talked about the conscious mind as the chooser and director of thought. And we explored the brain as the instrument, not the leader. We learned that thought is the origin of all form, and that whatever is held in mind with feelings begin to take shape in our lived experience. This law it set the foundation for everything that follows. Because once you realize all is mind, you also begin to realize that your thoughts and feelings are always shaping your outer world. So as we enter this room tonight, with the understanding in place, we now turn to a law that reveals how those inner thoughts and states show up in the physical world. So let's step into tonight's teaching. First of all, for those who are first time viewers, I'm Greg Stanton, also known as Asar, the metaphysical mystic. So we welcome you. If you want to know more about what we do, you can go to the website www.solutionsforliving.com, and that's spelled SOULUTIONS, all one word, solutions for living. So let's look at the core principle tonight, the law of correspondence. We're going to start by defining this law simply before we go any deeper. The law of correspondence says that our outer life is a mirror to our inner life. If you want to change what is happening around you, you must first shift. You shift from what's happening within you. Okay, you got to look at what's going on inside. Your external reality is really a projection of your dominant thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and your assumptions. Every relationship, every experience, every repeated outcome, they all echo of what's going on in your inner state. As within, so without. As above, so below. On earth as it is in heaven. This is Matthew chapter 6, verse 10. This principle shows up all throughout scriptures, such as, for as a man thinketh, or as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23 and 7. Or you can look at Galatians 6 and 7, where it says, don't be deceived. Source is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, shall also he reap. Whatever seed you sow is exactly what you get. You sow a apple seed, you'll get an apple tree. You can't sow an apple seed expecting to get a pear tree. That's a law of nature. What I feared has come upon me. You remember that? That's Job. Job 3 and 25, where he says, what he feared has come upon him. What he dreaded had happened to him. What he was planning in the recesses of his mind reflected out in the reality of his life. Romans 12 and 2 is another good example. It tells us, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And what we're really talking about, your spirit don't have to be renewed. Your brain needs to be renewed, what we call our cerebral process. So Romans 12 and 2 is really talking about what we call the subconscious and conscious mind, but it's really the brain. Now, once you align your heart with source or divine mind, now you have a direct hookup where that should be influencing your conscious and your subconscious. So each of the verses that we just looked at, they affirm that our inner beliefs, our vibrations, expectations, that these shape our lives and our lived experience. This is correspondence in sacred action. And we've read these scriptures all along, but we didn't really know that they were really speaking to ancient laws, the law of correspondence. So, what we want to look at is, what are we learning? We're learning that nothing in our lives is random, that it all corresponds. It's all correspondence. Your life really mirrors your beliefs. A disordered room often corresponds with the mental clutter of our minds or our brains. An ongoing argument may correspond with internal conflict. If you want to change the mirror, you don't fight the reflection, you change the source. Now, let's pause and reflect for a moment. Where have your emotions shown up in your posture or tone recently? People read you. Your thoughts form vibrations. Those vibrations show up in the physical expression of your body. They show up in your body language. They show up in your tone of voice, your word choice, your decision making, your energy level, your emotional responses. All of these are the expression of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, our vibrational frequency. So if you're holding thoughts of defeat, lack, or fear, what do you think going to happen? Yes, those energies imprint on your subconscious brain, and they ripple through your nervous system and they manifest outwardly. This is not just theory, that's correspondence. Beginner or seasoned student, this is truth. Your expectations are emotional blueprints for your future. If you are expecting scarcity, life responds with limitations. Expecting resistance, guess what? It responds and sends more obstacles. If you're expecting overflow, not just one time, but you're in the frequency of overflow, harmony and favor shows up. So life aligns with your frequency, and your frequency is a reflection of what you are thinking frequently. Now, as health, as a correspondence, let's look at that. Dis-ease or disease is not random. It's usually a state of inner disharmony expressing itself through the body. Emotions suppressed in the heart or in the gut become tension in the shoulders, tightness in the chest, headaches, or the skull. Proverbs 17 and 22 gives us a glimpse of this. It says, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up like bones. Now, isn't that interesting? Even science calls it psychosomatic. Psyche, meaning brain, or we say mind, but mind is spirit. When we say in the world sense, mind is really brain. And it says psyche means mind, soma means body, the mind body connection. What you believe and feel creates a measurable biological effect. For those you don't know, there's an author by the name of Louise Hayes, and she has this book entitled "You Can Heal Yourself." I recommend you get that little book. And if you're experiencing something in your body, you can find whatever that is in the book. You may say you're experiencing lower back pain. And she may say, well, it's because you're carrying more than you should. And what that may mean, you may not be carrying weight, but you may be carrying thoughts that you need to let go. So there's a correspondence, or the law of correspondence is reflected in our health. The law of correspondence is also reflected in our relationships. The people around you often reflect your vibration. So you can look at your circle, look at who you are frequently around. A lot of times, Source allows us to see ourselves by looking at others. If you expect betrayal, you'll project suspicion and attract instability. If you walk in trust and joy, you'll draw those frequencies into your interactions. If you have unhealed insecurity, guess what? You'll likely manifest controlling relationships, unspoken resentment, that'll show up. Also, as it'll leak out as sarcasm or withdrawal and return to you through the behaviors of others. So we have to look at the relationships. Sometimes we don't do our mirror work. We won't look in the mirror other than to put on makeup or to dress ourselves up. But the true mirrors are the people you come in contact with. The true mirror of what you are expressing, what's going on in your mind, is reflective of what's reflected by or corresponds with what's going on around you. That's important. Let's look at financial correspondence. Financial struggle is often a correspondence of inner conflict around worthiness, abundance, or old conditioning. Thoughts like money is hard to come by. Anybody heard that one before? Or here's one: I'm not good with money. Or one you may have heard growing up: money don't grow on trees, which is a lie. Trees have apples. Apples can be exchanged for money. So money really does grow on trees. But we have all these little statements that we've been told or we've heard as children, and they've been subconsciously programmed into us. Okay, and these become patterns that repeat knowingly and unknowingly, and they are repeated until they are interrupted. Okay, you may unconsciously sabotage increase you expect, and by expecting, and what you get is because you're expecting struggle. You may fear success because of what you believe it'll cost. You don't want to pay the price. Until your inner beliefs shift, the outer experiences repeat. And so when I'm talking about the law of correspondence, I wanted to break it down into everyday um, things that we deal with. I didn't want to just make it real cerebral. I didn't want to make it so deeply metaphysical, even though the law of correspondence is a medical physical principle that tells you that's what's going on up there is going on in here. What's going on out there is going on in here. As above, so below. As out, so in. And likewise, what's going on inside reflects on the outside. So we have to understand it affects us in our, we can find correspondence by looking at our relationships. We can find correspondence by looking at our financial situation. Okay, we also have what's known as subconscious and self-fulfilling loops that we deal with. Many of us are trapped in these. We're trapped in the programming of the subconscious loops of beliefs, and these beliefs perpetuate what we don't want. But the universe don't know you don't really want it because the universe responds to the frequency. The universe responds to the signal. These aren't just bad habits I'm talking about. They are internal assumptions you forgot you were carrying. You don't even know you're carrying them. Job told us in Job 3 and 25, what I feared has come upon me. You know why? Because every morning Job got up and he went to make a sacrifice. And some may say that was a religious practice, a spiritual practice. And the spiritual practice was saying that I'm going to do this just in case my children do that, then they'll be covered by this. And so his whole behavior was motivated by the thing that he feared most. So if you fear failure, you subconsciously prepare for it. Even if you've practiced the speech, you've gone over your elevator presentation, you've done all that you knew to do. But if you have a fear of failure, if inside of you, you just have that small hurdle of potential failure, you subconsciously prepare for that. You protect against it. You don't want to try anything that may put you in a position where you appear to fail. And ultimately, what happens, you reproduce it. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. And that's where the game of life is won. When you understand that the subconscious mind does not differentiate between a thing imagined and the reality. What do you rehearse? Do you rehearse reality by saying, I'm just going to keep it real? You're like a weather forecaster that's forecasting what they see? Or are you one who will go inside and you will say, I'm having contrast out there, but I know I can attempt to change it out there. But I got to understand that the lower correspondence is saying that what is reflected out there is corresponding with what's in here. So I come inside and I begin to work the imagination game and I begin to change my reality. So what you emotionally dwell on, you invite. That's important that we understand that. Now, I'm talking about imagination. What I'm talking about visualization. Let's look at visualization and frequency. Visualization is powerful because it lets you rehearse the life you desire with emotional alignment. Notice I didn't say the life you want. Because when you use the word want, you are sending a strong statement that is not there. But when you use desire, it's there and has the potential from coming from there to here. The universe is abundant, it lacks nothing. So I say it again. So what we have to learn is that visualization is a powerful thing to take on. Why? Because when you take on visualization, the art of developing your imagination, it allows you to rehearse the life that you desire. And it loops in or pulls in your emotional alignment. Because if you really get into a vivid thing imagined, it's going to pull in your sensory realm. Do you remember when you were kids, when you played cowboys and Indians, you really got into role. And so we have to learn how to get into role and operate from the role. Your thoughts provide an electrical charge, and your emotions give the magnetic pull. So there's a charge and the emotional pull that comes with it. And when you put them together, they form your energetic signature as it pertains to what is showing up. So you want to practice visualizing from the outcome. You want to practice living from the outcome, not toward it. So when you're visualizing something and you're looking from inside out and you are looking towards it versus you are looking out and being in it, it takes a whole nother feeling. Feel it now. Feel it as real. You want to learn to do this. That is the frequency that pulls things into being. That is the frequency that will shift your life. Now, your mental environment and accountability is something that has to be taken, brought into this conversation. Your influences shape your vibration. That is the music you're listening to, the shows that you binge on, the people you call friends. These are not passive things. They feed you. That's how you got to be careful what comes through your eye gates, what comes through your ear gates. You got to be careful what comes to you through the sensory realm because the vast majority of us are controlled by the sensory realm. We're carnally minded. That is, the senses can throw us off. The word says to be carnally minded is death. And basically, the religious scripture, religious interpretation of that says that if you're doing anything that is worldly, you are not holy. But it has nothing to do with being holy because you're whole, perfect, and complete. It has everything to do with understanding how your brain operates, how your brain deals with what it sees or the senses that is comes to it through the spinal cord and our neural network. And then that impacts how we feel, how we respond. So we have to know that our mental environment needs to be held accountable. The word tells us in Proverbs 4 and 23. So you already know it. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. The energy comes right from your heart. And that's we've learned in the room one. We learned that there's a heart brain, a head brain, and there's a gut brain. And that the head brain and the gut brain circumvent the heart brain. But when you put it in perfect alignment, the heart brain leads, the head brain follows, and the gut brain reproduces after that. You need to know this. You are the gatekeeper. You get to choose what enters your inner world. The law of correspondence responds to what you host inside. You are the host. What are you hosting? Who's your guest? It's not what you pretend to believe, but what you actually carry out. You could say one thing, you can't fool yourself. You can post things till, till the cows come home. You can affirm till the cows come home. But if what's coming from your head does not resonate in your heart, then you're not fooling yourself. Okay, it's an exercise in futility. Now, the body will always tell you the truth. Your mouth may deny it. Okay, you may be in denial with your mouth, but your body's going to tell you. If your speech says peace, but your posture says collapse, correspondence will favor your posture. How you doing? Oh, I'm doing okay today. Okay. You're telling me exactly where you at. You're not okay. I have a person that at work every day comes in and they stop by my office and I'll say, "How are you doing?" And they'll say, "I'm here." And I had to tell them, "You got to stop that." I had to stop that. I stopped saying I got to go to work. I reframed it till I get to go to work. And that reminds me when I didn't have work, when I didn't have a steady source of income, and how I wished for work, and how I deliberately and intentionally put the work in to get work. And sometimes we forget. And so you got to watch what you say. You got to watch what your body language, does your body language match what you say? What has the world been reflecting back to you this evening? Think about it. What has the world been reflecting back to you lately, even on today? What are your relationships showing you? Did you have an argument at the store? And when you thought about it, you said, why did I have that argument? Okay. Were you short with someone? And you ask, why was I short with that? What are your relationships showing you? What are your repeated obstacles pointing to? What is your emotional state magnetizing in your health, your finances, and focus. In your, I like to say wealth, because when you talk about wealth, you're talking about your finances, you're talking about your health. And when we say mental health or mental wealth, how we are mentally dealing with all those things. So your emotional state will magnetize your health, your finances, and guess what? Your focus. Now let's look at clarity. I want you to think of the heart and brain like dance partners, okay? When they're in sync, you move gracefully through life. When they're out of sync, you trip over your own energy. The heart is the feminine feminine energy. The mind or the brain is the masculine energy. Even in the brain, you have a right and left brain. You have a masculine side and a feminine side. And in the heart, you have the same. So there's a duality or a singularity in everything, but the singularity can be broken down into a duality. So when you're out of sync, you trip over your own energy. When your heart and head don't match up. And when you get when your heart and head and gut don't match up, you're out of sync. So the heart, we've talked about the science and, about around the heart and how science and spirit merge in the heart. The heart contains over 40,000 neurons, and it sends more information to the brain than it receives. It sends more information to the brain than what the brain sends to it. It radiates now, this is science. It radiates what is known as an electromagnetic field that's 100 times stronger than the brain. Now, that number vacillates, depends on what material you're reading, but it all says the same thing. The common denominator is that the brain's electromagnetic field is much stronger. I mean, not the brain, the heart brain. The heart is much stronger than the brain. That's why when you die, you're dead when the heart stops. That's it. So the field changes your emotion. What field? The electromagnetic field. When your emotional state is elevated, guess what? You have joy, you have love, you have gratitude. And if you want to elevate your emotional state, go around a baby, um, find things to be grateful for, express joy. Your heart and brain comes into coherence when you express love, joy, gratitude, peace. It changes your attitude. Okay. The coherence enhances clarity. When there's coherence, okay, between the heart and the head, you get clarity. You also have intuition, creation, and you'll dream like you've never dreamed before. When your internal environment is calm, your external world reflects peace. When you live in fear, you attract more things to fear. That's why we have to take time throughout the day and go inside. Take a break. We go from this task to that task, and then we multitask all tasks. But sometimes you have to say, I'm going to work 40 minutes and I'm going to take a break. Okay? Take a break. Be still. Go inside. Don't check your phone. Just get quiet. Close your eyes. Ask yourself what you're feeling. Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling like you're on a treadmill? Take some breaths. Slow it down. So, what is the law of correspondence really saying to each of us? It's saying that you are always attracting, that you're always broadcasting, that you're always reflecting. Your world is not punishing you, it's mirroring you. Your world is a direct mirror of you. And the moment you shift your inner atmosphere, your external results must correspond. If you say you never get a break, you're not going to get a break. If you go in before the judge and you say, I'm going before the magistrate and he has a history of doing this, that, the other, I don't care if he's been known to throw the book at people. When you go before the judge and you've already imagined in your mind's eye what the response, what the relationship is going to be. And sometimes when you step in that courtroom and one little thing goes in that direction, you say, "Oh, here we go." Now you just open the door to floodgates. But you got to be able to stand. You got to, no matter what your eyes see, no matter what your ears say or hear, no matter what has gone on through the whole case, you got to know the verdict is going to be favorable. Now, this is important. You are not being punished. You're only getting what you are sowing. And the moment you shift your inner atmosphere, your external results must correspond. That's law. Matter of fact, that's divine law. And you're never outside of it. Now, three questions I want you to reflect on. One, where do you notice unwanted patterns in your life? So you can write that down tonight. You might say, where am I noticing unwanted patterns in my life? Okay. The second question I want you to deal with is, what thoughts or beliefs might be causing these results? What thoughts am I holding, or what beliefs, or what thoughts am I running, or what beliefs am I holding in my program that might be causing these results? And sometimes you can look at your family of origin. You can look at other people that keep showing up in your life that you don't want to show up, but they keep showing up because it's showing you something. And then the third question this evening I want you to think about this week is, how can I realign internally to shift my outcomes externally? How can I realign internally to shift my outcomes externally? When you make that shift happens. Things happen. Now, I want to speak the truth loud and silently from within. Take a big breath in. Hold it. Now exhale. My closing affirmation. I'll say it and then I will say it again. I am the cause, not the effect. My inner world is aligned with peace, power, and purpose. I choose thoughts that uplift. I embody emotions that heal. I radiate energy that corresponds to the life I desire. As within, so without, and so it is. So I'm going to say it one more time fluently. I am the cause, not the effect. My inner world is not aligned with peace. My inner world is aligned with peace, power, and purpose. I choose thoughts that uplift. I embody emotions and that heal. I radiate energy that corresponds with the life I desire. As within, so without, and so it is. So if you're with me tonight and you want me to create an affirmation for you, you can tell me what the challenge is, what keeps showing up that you would like to see the opposite of, and you send me a text and I'll do that for you. Just for those who are on the call tonight. Now, here's my closing thought as we prepare to wrap up another evening together in the living room. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Whatever signal you're sending out comes back to you because it came from within. And the sacred gift of this teaching is that who you are is not fixed. It's formative. It's fluid. It's transformative. You can renew your mind. You can change your brain. You can change your thoughts. You can realign your vibration. You can rescript your inner world. Just like you can body script. You can body script. You can rescript your entire life. And by the divine law, your outer world will reflect that change. Change starts on the inside. You can go to the gym all day long, but until you change the image on the inside, the outside's not going to change. Or it'll change, but it's going to bounce right back. So tonight, I encourage each of you to leave this sacred space not just inspired, but empowered. I want you to be empowered to pause before you repeat that old reaction. Empowered to observe what your life is mirroring back. Empowered to shift what no longer serves who you're becoming. You're not here to chase reflections. You are here to become the source. I and the Father are one. And in doing so, you become a demonstration of truth. Not just a student, but you become a demonstrator. You become a practitioner. Now, I want to thank each of you for entering this room tonight, room 2 of 7, with me. Next week, we're going to walk into room 3. We're going to explore the principle of vibration, how frequency, emotion, and movement shape manifestation. We got a touch of it. Until then, I want you to keep watching your mirrors. Keep shaping your world from the inside out. That's important. And if this teaching has been a blessing to you and you want to be a blessing for the lesson, feel free to sow a seed into the ministry. You can go to solutionsforliving.com and go over to the giving page. You can give in that fashion. Or if you're operating by Cash App or Zelle, feel free to use 708-368-1076, the number that you see there on the screen. Use that number, and then you can sow a seed. Not for need or neither greed, but because it's relational. It's not transactional, it's relational. You've gotten something of value. You ever go to a restaurant, a five-star restaurant, you you give a tip. You give a tip because you got exceptional service. You got value. So I hope you got some value tonight. And if you did, keep coming back. If there's nothing here for you, just keep moving. All right. So you guys have a wonderful evening. Now I'm going to close out the green and go into the green room. Peace. All right. Good evening, everyone. If you got questions, if you have comments, observations, go ahead and hit that button or raise your hand, or you can put it over here in the chat. Let me see here. You guys were very attentive. There was nothing going on in the chat while I was speaking. Let me visit over here into the YouTube room. Hello, my YouTubers. I hope things are well. You have a pleasant evening. Have a number of you who are viewing this evening. We welcome you. Hope something has been said that's been uplifting and encouraging. Most assuredly, I pray that it has been life changing. So I'm looking here. There's nothing there in the Zoom room. So not the Zoom room. There's nothing in the YouTube, and there's nothing. There's no questions. There's no hands up. So I'm going to put my hands up and say it's done. Have a wonderful evening. I'll see you guys on next week here in the living room. Now, peace.